How to structurally dissect poetry. Today we will discuss some basics for structurally dissecting poetry, which can be used in your high school classrooms or in those lit classes you take in college. You'll need the following for today's lesson. A pencil. I recommend one with a decent eraser or a pink pearl, just in case you have some things you need to correct. I would not use a pen because permanent pens when dissecting poetry can get a little messy and might be potentially hard to read in the near future. A copy of your poem, or for this particular lesson, I will be using Slavery by Lydia Sigourney as the example poem. You can have a PDF copy of that, or you can have your own poem, because what I am teaching you in this lesson can be applied to any poem. So it really does not matter what type of poem you have. Optional, a printed copy of your poem. If you're going to use what I teach you for future reference, I recommend having a printed copy. I will be working directly from my book. However, for you to be able to access your copy, I recommend using a printed one. Now, with further ado, let's begin our lesson. Structure. Structure. We'll be talking specifically about stanzas. Structure consists of the following. Stanzas. Stanzas are a series of lines grouped together and separated by an entire line. Stanzas are the equivalents of paragraphs, but in poem form. We will talk a little bit more about stanzas in the following slides. Stanzas. The common types of stanzas. One way to identify a stanza is to count the number of lines. A couplet has 2 lines. A tercet has 3 lines. A quatrain has 4 lines. A cinquain has 5 lines. A sextet has 6 lines, and a septet has 7 lines, and an octave has 8 lines. Now, let's look at the example video. Now that we've discussed the different types of stanzas, let's apply what we've discussed to the essay. Okay, and one way we said that you can determine your stanza is to count the lines. So let's go ahead and start with the first line. 1, 2. And what I'm going to do is right by each line to keep myself, in check in terms of my counting. I'm going to go ahead and put the number beside the line. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I stopped because, as we discussed a few minutes ago, you can tell when you're moving from one stanza to another because you will have this break between the lines, and right here is that break. So what I like to do a lot of times is make a line to make it very clear to me when I come back and look again that, hey, this is that break between stanzas. And something else I also like to do is I will mark the stanzas and give them a number beside them. So that's stanza 1. And now let's continue on and go to the next stanza. And the reason why you want to continue on to do that is because sometimes authors tend to change the number of lines per stanza. So you want to make sure you go all the way through before you rule out and say that you have a certain type of stanza. So let's continue. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to have to flip the page. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm going to do my break then, and that's stanza 2, and it has 8 lines again. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the third stanza. Break, line break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we have counted all 4 of our stanzas, and each of them have 8 lines. Since we have 8 lines in each stanza, we have an octave. Okay, now let's go to the next part of our lesson. Rhyme and rhythm. Rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme depends on the words placed at the end of each line. Rhyme scheme refers to the order that particular words rhyme. If the alternate words rhyme, it is an A-B-A-B rhyme scheme, which means A is the rhyme of lines 1 and 3, and B is the rhyme of lines 2 and 4. We'll talk about that more in the next slide. Now, let's talk about the common types of rhyme scheme. The common types of rhyme scheme are alternate rhyme scheme And with alternate rhyme scheme, it will follow like an A-B format. It will alternate. Ballads, they are 3 stanzas with a rhyme scheme of A-B, A-B-B, C-B-C, followed by B-C-B-C rhyme scheme. A monorhyme is that every line uses the same rhyme scheme. A couplet is 2-line stanzas with the same rhyme scheme. So it's like A-A, B-B, or C-C. Triplets are they are like couplets except they have 3 lines in the rhyme scheme, such as A-A-A. Enclosed rhyme, it uses a rhyme scheme of A, B, B, A. For example, if you notice the first line and the second line, which are the lines that close up the rhyme scheme, rhyme. A limerick is 5 lines with a rhyme scheme of A, A, B, B, A. A villanelle is a 19-line poem consisting of 5 tercets and a final quatrain. Now that we've discussed the common types of rhyme scheme, let's look at the video. Now that we have discussed the different components of a rhyme scheme along with the common types of rhyme schemes, let's try to determine the rhyme scheme for this particular poem. So we're going to start with that first stanza, and what I like to do, since you're focusing in on how the last word in each line rhymes with one another, I always go ahead and underline the last word in each line. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, now that we've got our words underlined, we can begin. We have a goodly climb. That is the first line for the rhyme scheme for this stanza, so it is going to have an A. Broad vales and streams we boast. Boast and climb do not rhyme, so it's going to take on the next letter, which will be B. Our mountain frontiers form sublime. Sublime and climb rhyme. This goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, where we were saying that occasionally the first line and third line will rhyme in a rhyme scheme. And because of that, it's going to also take on an A. Old ocean guards our coast. Coast and boast rhyme, because we were talking about how the alternating lines tend to pair together. So what we're going to do is, that's going to be a B. Sons bless our harvest fair. Fair does not rhyme with coast, sublime, boast, or climb. Therefore, fair is going to become another letter, which will be C for another set. With feverish smile, serene. Serene also doesn't rhyme with any of the other words we've been using in our pair of rhyme schemes. So it will become a D. But a dark shade is gathering there. There and fair rhyme. So this line will become a C. What can its blackness mean? Mean and serene rhyme. So that line will become a D. So when you finish out your line, you should have A, B, C, D, C, D. You'll have an alternating rhyme scheme with the pairs being with the alternating lines. Now that we have done our first stanza, we need to go ahead and do the second stanza. You want to go ahead and always do all the stanzas, because a lot of times authors will, or poets, they will change their rhyme scheme at some point within their stanzas. So you need to go all the way through before you can go ahead and say that it's following one's particular rhyme scheme. So let's go ahead and go to that second stanza. And when you do a new stanza, you start over with your alphabet and your rhyme scheme. So what we're going to do is underline for that. We're going to underline the last words in those lines. And you can get to a point where what I do is I don't always read through all the lines. So I've underlined proud, claim, and cloud. And immediately I see proud and cloud rhyme. So we're going to go ahead and put our A's right there. So we've got our pair going. Now, claim. We're going to have to flip to the next page because of what we've got working. So, claim, fame. So this is going to take on a B. And this will also take on a B. So we're getting it going again. A, B, A, B. Now we can flip to that next page. Fame. And the next set we have, okay, So we've got bright, bought, white, wrought. So immediately what stands out is that white and bright rhyme. And because, like I said, you're going to the next letter in the rhyme scheme, that will be C for bright and then C for right. And next, brought, bought, and wrought. They rhyme, so D and D. So once again, we're back alternating. So let's go ahead and finish out these last two stanzas. So we'll do again like we said. Underline the last word in each line so we can keep up with it. And if there are some words and you're not really sure if they rhyme, I'm going to also include a website that'll help you determine which words rhyme with which and make it easier. I'll include that at the very end. So now we're looking at it again. Keep in mind the rhyme scheme we've had going into these last two stanzas have been A, B, C, D, C, D. So let's see if we've got it going again in this third one. C, I, free, sky. So let's see if we've got it going. I see blue and true rhyme. That was the first thing that stood out to me, but I'm trying not to get ahead. So sometimes you can't just look at the last word. You actually have to say it out. Our banner over the sea looks forth with starry eye, emblazoned, glorious, bold, and free. Free and sea. So they're going to take on an A. I, sky, looks forth with starry eye. So, looks forth with starry eye, a letter on the sky. So they would rhyme, and you're going to go ahead and do B's for that. And now that we've done that, let's go to the next one. What hand with shameful stain hath marred its heavily blue? The yoke, the fastest, and the chain. Chain, stain. So those two are going to take on C and C. And last but not least, hath married its heavenly blue. Say, are these emblems true? True, blue, rhyme. So we're going to have D and D. So for our third stanza, we're keeping it with the same rhyme scheme we had in the other two, where we're going A, B, C, D, C, D. Now let's go ahead and do that fourth one, because like I said, you got to do all of them, because sometimes they will change in the middle and they'll change in a stanza, and you got to do it all to make sure it's consistent. So let's go ahead for that fourth one. Underline those last words in each line, get them underlined, and there we go. Now, let's do it again. This day doth music rare swell through our nation's bounds, but Averick's wailing mingles there. There and where rhyme. So we're going to go A. Swell through our nation's bounds, and heaven doth hear the sound. Sound and bound rhyme again. So we're going to do B and B for those two lines. O God of power, we turn in penitence to thee. Bid our loved land the lessons learn to bid the slave be free. So turn, learn, they rhyme. So we've got a C and a C. The free rhyme. So D and the. So in the case of this rhyme scheme, all the way through, for each stanza, the rhyme scheme was, I'm going to go back to that first page because we've done that. The rhyme scheme was A, B, C, D, C, D, all the way through, which means the type, because based off of the common types we learned, that means that this poem had an alternating rhyme scheme throughout. And now we have reached the end of the slideshow. In this lesson, I have included some helpful resources in the description/bio that you can use in the near future. Thank you for watching.